This is Performance Shop, presented by Tuff Stuff Performance Accessory.
This car has a high compression 347 engine, okay? When you add compression, you're putting a strain on the starter. Now the starter on this car was already 26 years old, which is very impressive. But every time he goes to crank it, especially when it's cold outside, the starter drags. We're gonna fix that for him today by adding a high torque Tuff Stuff starter. And the cool thing is, because this car has so much chrome on it, we're gonna go ahead and go with one of their chrome versions. But the cool thing is they also have super cast, they have black chrome and stealth chrome. These things are 30% stronger than the factory starter. They're high torque versions. They're made right here in America. It's all brand new components. None of it is remanufactured. And when applicable, they supply you with the proper bolts, hardware, and shims that you need to install your starter at home. So that way you don't have to get up and go to the store looking for the product that you need to finish your job. Don't forget, disconnect the negative battery before you start on anything that has to do with power, okay? But one thing I tell my employees all the time, and I have over the years, because we've installed so many accessories over the years, whenever you're installing an accessory, a bolt-on, an aftermarket part, and there is shine to it, or it's pretty, out of the box new, the last thing you want to do, after you've done installing it, you got your fingerprints all over it, wipe everything down, because if you don't, the oil from your finger will bake onto the components due to the heat underneath the hood. So make sure you take the time and go back and wipe everything down. We're going to go ahead and finish this install on the starter and go to the alternator next. The other thing this car has a problem with, it's got a high output stereo system, and the alternator just can't keep up. Yes, he had a one wire, but the amperage wasn't enough. So we're going to go ahead with a Tuff Stuff alternator, high amp, chrome, because we're going to continue on with our chrome theme, and this is internally regulated. Now, Tuff Stuff has been made in America since 1979. We went ahead and decided to go with the chrome feature on ours, and they have multiple pulley options, high amperage, they're brand new, not remanufactured, okay? Now, whenever you're doing an alternator install, you want to remember that there is a bushing in most cases holding the alternator in place, taking up the gap from the housing, okay? You want to take a small hammer and pound that bushing in away from the space where the alternator is going to live, just so your new alternator will slip into place and you won't be fighting it. Okay, that's something my brother does all the time. So we're going to go ahead and put this in place, holding it with our pulley. We're going to put our first bolt in, and that'll hold our alternator in place. Then we could swing it in place. And this particular alternator bracket has been powder coated, but we have scraped off the points where the bracket bolts to the motor and the alternator bolts to the bracket, and so we could get a ground circuit. But the cool thing that Tuff Stuff does is they give you a ground point on the alternator where, in case you have a situation like what we have, you can simply take your ground wire that you've added to the system, bring it up here, hook it up to the ground port, just like that, and we know we don't have to worry about having any charging issues, because we've got good ground going to the body of the alternator. And that's probably going to be the most important part of this install, because without a proper ground, you're never going to be able to make voltage, okay? Now we're going to go ahead and put our belt on. I've already ordered us a new plug so that we can reconnect the internal regulator, and we've got the other plug already right here plugged in, and we can go ahead and close the hood, put the intake on, and fix the problem that this gentleman had with both the starter and the low amperage.